me as you used to. Fragile I am not.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the best and most riveting portrayals of monarchs on screen.
A strong man acts within that which constrains him.
What constrains me?
Number 20, Elle Fanning as Katherine the Great. The Great. Better suited to cable than PBS, The Great takes a look at the marriage of Russian monarchs Peter III and Catherine the Great. It's more satire than history lesson.
I could kill you. You are a bad person.
See, I like you. You're funny. In a droll, despairing sort of way. I couldn't take a lot of it, but occasionally it's refreshing.
Nicholas Hoult is wickedly funny as the deviant Emperor Peter, but it's Elle Fanning's hilarious performance as Katherine that's worth the price of admission. The series follows Katherine as she plots to remove her husband from power via his death. Of course, they engage in several political and erotic power plays along the way, but as she continues to outmaneuver her husband, Katherine also seems to enjoy the twisted games they play. It's confusing, but incredibly entertaining.
Who's got all the power? The one who made a mistake and knows he will never stop paying, but is happy to pay. Or the one who is wronged and has a stick to always beat the other one with.
Make me forget.
Number 19, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers as Henry VIII, The Tudors. This series may get knocked for its sexy reinterpretation of Henry VIII's reign, but in the capable hands of Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, the king's lustful appetites and quest for a male heir make total sense. Though he's not a great guy, there's a charisma to him that makes you understand his motivations and political maneuvers.
Have no heir. Only a daughter and a bastard son. You understand, Wolsey? The Tudor dynasty, gone. All my father's work finished, and it's my fault!
On The Tudors, Henry is still a young man, vibrant and spirited. It also makes him much more dangerous. He's just as likely to lead an army as he is to wrestle foreign heads of state and bed his advisors' daughters.
I ask you only one thing. That you allow me to serve and worship you, as Lancelot served and worshipped Guinevere.
Number 18, Kirsten Dunst as Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette. Sofia Coppola's 2006 retelling of the story of Marie Antoinette received mixed reviews from critics, but at least Kirsten Dunst's portrayal of the young, irreverent queen was a fresh and memorable one.
Madame, you have the alliance to consider.
Letting everyone down would be my greatest unhappiness.
Marie Antoinette gets a bad rap in popular culture, past and present, being shown as selfish, snobby, and disconnected from the French people. But Dunst manages to convey the monarch as a sympathetic character, a girl taken from her home at a young age and brought into a court where she knew no one, only to bear the brunt of the blame for the lack of a quickly produced heir. Dunst truly succeeds in humanizing this often demonized historical figure.
Are you admiring your Lime Avenue?
I'm saying goodbye.
Number 17, Laurence Olivier as Richard III. Richard III.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York.
Although it didn't live up to initial expectations, especially compared to his previous Shakespeare adaptations, Laurence Olivier's work in Richard III is now considered some of his best. That's a pretty big statement. The legendary actor played several Shakespearean protagonists, but something about his ruthless Richard III still resonates. Olivier is nothing short of creepy as the rage-filled tyrant who gladly sacrificed his own relatives for the throne.
I am in so far in blood that sin will pluck on sin. Dear falling pity dwells not in this eye.
What's more unsettling? Is it his gleeful double crosses or the direct addresses to the camera that let us in on his disturbed thoughts? It doesn't matter. Olivier's Richard is chilling.
Can I do this and cannot get a crown? Tut, were it further off, I'll pluck it down.
Number 16, Geneviève Bujold as Anne Boleyn. Anne of the Thousand Days. Canadian actress Geneviève Bujold earned an Oscar nomination for her stirring portrayal of Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's ill-fated second wife. The married king had already had an affair with her sister before he gets to Anne, but Bujold's headstrong queen goes toe-to-toe with the most powerful man in England, defying him at every turn.
It's not safe for any of us to say no to our king. That put-on, kindly, hail-fellow well-met of yours. My father's house will be pulled down, and Northumberland's too, they tell me. Well, pull them down, your majesty. You are what I said.
Even her family's pressure to become the king's new mistress isn't enough to goad her. Unfortunately, it only makes him want her more. While we all know how the story ends, with her in the part, she actually managed to convince us that she might have the last laugh over the king.
If some young man wrote this song for you, Anne, what would you say of it?
I would ask him how his wife liked it, your grace.
You shall dance to my tune, mistress.
Number 15, Judy Dench as Queen Victoria, Mrs. Brown. The exact nature of Queen Victoria's relationship with her deceased husband's servant, John Brown, is unknown. However, Mrs. Brown delves into what might have caused so much speculation.
Without you, I cannot find the strength to be who I must be. Please.
Dame Judy Dench deftly portrays the famed queen as she mourns her husband, Prince Albert, and forges a friendship with his manservant. Their tender friendship restores her and brings her out of mourning, but the price is speculation at their expense.
Sometimes I feel Brown is all I have left of Albert. And now they attack Brown too. I will not give him up to them.
Dench plays Victoria as a woman straining against convention and her own grief, and she won a BAFTA for her performance. Dench would later reprise the role in 2017's Victoria and Abdul.
They couldn't bear me bringing dear John Brown here. I was happier here than anywhere in the entire world.
Number 14, Judi Dench as Elizabeth I, Shakespeare in Love. This Academy Award-winning role is short but memorable. Though she's not on screen for long, the entire plot of Shakespeare in Love hinges on Queen Elizabeth I. First, it's her bet that William Shakespeare can write a play showing the nature of love that sets much of the drama in motion.
Nature and truth are the very enemies of play acting. I'll wager my fortune.
I thought you were here because you had none.
She appears again near the end to save Shakespeare and his fellow artists from being arrested for having a woman in their cast. Dench plays the Virgin Queen with the appropriate regalness, but also maintains a tongue-in-cheek humour about herself. Her playfulness leaps off the screen. It's no wonder she got an Oscar, a BAFTA, and the National Society of Film Critics Award for her efforts.
Tell Master Shakespeare something more cheerful next time. For Twelfth Night.
Number 13, Robert Shaw as Henry VIII, A Man for All Seasons. Based on the Tony-winning play of the same name, this drama sees the downfall of Thomas More, a one-time favourite of King Henry VIII. Robert Shaw was nominated for an Oscar for his role as Henry. He makes a meal of the Tudor king.
What is it? Thought, because I'm simple and plain and deal with every man straightforwardly. Because of that I say, do they take me for a simpleton?
There's no pretense of romance about this monarch. He is a power-hungry ruler through and through, a man who will stop at nothing to procure a male heir. Anyone who gets in his way will become fodder for the gallows. Prone to mood swings and anger, Shaw plays him as the wrathful and vengeful tyrant he was.
See how you've maddened me? I hardly know myself.
Number 12, Emily Blunt as Queen Victoria, the Young Victoria. Female-led British royal period pieces often focus on one of the two Queen Elizabeths, but in this 2009 film, Emily Blunt shines as Queen Victoria. She ascended the throne in 1837 when she was only 18 and went on to reign for over 63 years. The beginning of her rule was marred by disagreements among those around her as to how she should wield her influence.
You're too young! You've no experience. You're like a china doll walking over a precipice.
Well, then I must smash! For it's too late to mend my ways now.
This power struggle forced Victoria to be strong-willed in the face of adversity and to assert herself in order to be with the man she loves. Emily Blunt manages to show the softer side of this famous queen, in addition to her better documented, determined nature, delivering a remarkably nuanced performance.
I am young,
But I am willing to learn. And I mean to devote my life to the service of my country and my people. I look for your help in this.
Number 11, Briner as King Mongkut of Siam, The King and I. This musical production was released in 1956 to critical acclaim, receiving nominations for 9 Academy Awards, with Briner taking home the statue for Best Actor for his portrayal.
Do you not have any respect for me? Why do you stand over my head? I cannot stand all the time. And in this country, no one's head shall be higher than king's.
You could say Briner was used to playing the role, as he acted in the stage version of The King and I, giving the performance a total of 4,625 times. In modern times, the film probably would have received criticism for casting a white actor in the role of King of Siam, but it was the 50s, so this sort of whitewashing wasn't widely recognised as an issue yet. Retroactive criticism aside, this remains a notably powerful performance, even decades later.
Etc. Etc. Etc.
Number 10, Elizabeth Taylor as Cleopatra. Cleopatra. Elizabeth Taylor's portrayal of this Egyptian queen is so iconic that it remains a serious challenge for anyone else to attempt the role. Taylor's seductive performance has cemented the way Cleopatra is viewed today, and yet this movie had a famously disastrous production, including massive budgetary issues, illness, a high-profile affair, troubled shooting, and a changeover of various actors and the director. In fact, it nearly bankrupted 20th Century Fox.
The winds of destruction blow down upon thee. Storms and hail shall cut down wheat, shall cut down birds and living things of earth, the heavens, and the gods themselves.
At the time, it was the most expensive movie ever made, and despite being the highest grossing film that year, it proved unprofitable. Although Taylor retrospectively called it her career low, to this day, for many people, she is Cleopatra.
Isis herself would surrender her place in the heaven to be as beautiful as you.
You're not supposed to look at me. No one is.
But if they aren't looking out, they know that I am.
You should be kneeling.
Number 9, Kenneth Branner as Henry V. Henry V. You may recognise him as the notoriously egotistical Professor Lockhart from the Harry Potter series, but before he headed to Hogwarts, Kenneth Branner directed and starred in several movies based on famous Shakespeare plays.
Canst thou love me?
I cannot tell.
Well, can any of your neighbours tell, Kate? I'll ask them.
Arguably, his most memorable role was Henry V, in the much-revered movie by the same name. The film was so critically lauded that it maintains a near-perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes. Branner's spirited delivery of King Henry's famous St. Crispin's Day speech to his troops was just one of his many scene-stealing moments, which earned him a well-deserved Oscar nod.
We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother.
Number 8, Laurence Olivier as Henry V. Henry V. Decades before Kenneth Branner tackled the subject, the story was popularised by Laurence Olivier, who similarly worked as both director and lead actor on the film.
The game's afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge, try God for Harry! England and St. George!
Like Branner, he was nominated for Best Actor. What he did take home, however, was a special honorary award for his work as actor, producer and director in bringing this classic to the big screen.
Once more, unto the breach! Dear friends, once more, or close them all up with our English dead!
The film was released near the end of World War II and was requested by Winston Churchill as a morale booster for British troops. Roughly a decade later, he was again nominated for Best Actor for his rousing royal cinematic performance as Richard III, only to be beat out by Briner's aforementioned performance. Number 7, Kristen Stewart as Diana, Princess of Wales. Spencer. Even years after her tragic death, Princess Diana still remains the epitome of modern royalty in all its glamour and ugliness. Kristen Stewart received raves for her role as the People's Princess in this searing biopic.
They're circling. It seems they're circling just me. Not you. Just me.
Spencer takes place in the early 90s, when Diana and her husband, then Prince Charles, are on the rocks. It goes beyond the tabloid stories to get to the heart of what life in the royal family might really have been like for Diana. Stewart's performance highlights Diana's psychological horror as her marriage falls apart, and she is constrained by the pressures and thankless demands of royal life.
Tell them I'm not well. Tell them I'm not at all well!
Number 6, Olivia Coleman as Queen Anne. The Favourite. Not all historical fiction has to be stuffy and reverent. The Favourite is like a PBS miniseries projected through a funhouse mirror.
You wish me to lie to you? Oh, you look like an angel fell from heaven, Your Majesty. No, sometimes you look like a badger.
Queen Anne is a troubled, disturbed and petulant woman. Her various illnesses, moods and neuroses rule her and everyone in her orbit. She uses and abuses people with reckless abandon, but she also used and abused herself.
Some wounds do not close. I have many such. One just walks around with them, and sometimes one can feel them filling with blood.
Olivia Coleman won an Oscar for the stunning layers she brought to the character, who could come off as a shrill and screeching monster if played differently. Instead, Coleman finds humanity and humour in her quirks.
You are enjoying all of this, aren't you?
To be beloved, of course. To see you trying to win me, why, what is not to love, my dear?
Number 5, Katherine Hebburn as Elanor of Acre, The Lion in Winter. Peter O'Toole reprises his royal role from Beckett for this Christmas-set historical fiction drama. In The Lion in Winter, King Henry II is locked in a battle of succession with his 3 sons and their imprisoned mother. Katherine Hebburn is Henry's cunning and powerful queen consort.
I have the documents and you will sign.
How will you force me to? Threats? Sign or I refuse to feed you? Tears? Oh, sign before my heart goes crack. I'm like the earth, old man. There isn't any way around me.
Everyone in this story is playing chess, but Elanor is the best player of them all. Her spite, anger and heartbreak bring a distant historical character back to life. Hepburn plays the role with as much acid as she does heart, and won her 3rd Oscar as a result.
You put me here, you made me do mad things, you bled me.
Shoulder it yourself. Don't put it on my back. Pick it up and carry it. I can.
Number 4, Claire Foy, Olivia Coleman and Imelda Staunton as Elizabeth II. The Crown. Queen Elizabeth II looms large over the last century of history. This beloved and acclaimed series took on the gargantuan task of making sense of her 70-year reign. Such a big project required 3 different actresses of stature to pull it off.
No need to go on. That's what I'm saying. No need to go on. Your first loyalty has always been to the crown.
Claire Foy played Elizabeth in her early reign, Olivia Coleman played her in her middle age, and Imelda Staunton finished the job, portraying the Queen in the latter half of her reign. Without their shared commitment to the role, the show would never have become a cultural landmark. All 3 were nominated for several awards, with Foy and Coleman winning Emmys for their portrayals.
This system is a dreadful thing to inflict upon people. It's not natural. It's not fair. It's not kind. But you seem to thrive in it.
Number 3, Helen Mirren as Elizabeth II, the Queen. It seems like Helen Mirren was made to play this role. Honestly, she has an air of royalty about her even when she's not in costume. And she is a dame after all.
You don't think that what affection people once had for this institution has been diminished?
No, not at all. You're more respected now than ever.
This film shows a behind-the-scenes look at the royal family's reaction to Princess Diana's sudden death in 1997. It particularly focuses on Queen Elizabeth II's controversial view that since Diana and Charles were divorced, she should not receive a royal funeral, but rather a private affair.
That's the way we do things in this country. Quietly. With dignity. It's what the rest of the world has always admired us for.
Mirren swept the 2006 awards season, picking up an Academy Award, a Golden Globe, a BAFTA, and a Screen Actors Guild Award for this role. Number 2, Colin Firth as George VI. The King's Speech. King George VI took to the throne at a tumultuous time in English history, a couple of years before the beginning of World War II. The great-grandson of Queen Victoria was not meant to inherit the throne, as he had an older brother, Edward VIII. But when his brother abdicated the throne in order to marry a divorced socialite, George VI was thrust into the spotlight.
I'm a naval officer, that's all I know. I'm not a king.
This film focuses on the King's Speech impediment and the therapy he went through to improve it. Firth won the major trifecta of acting awards for this role, including an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and a SAG Award. It was truly the performance of a lifetime.
Listen to me!
Listen to you by what right?
By divine right, if you must. I'm your king.
No, you're not. You told me so yourself. You said you didn't want it. Why should I waste my time listening to you?
Because I have a right to be. I have a voice!
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Kate Blanchett as Elizabeth I. Elizabeth.
This is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes.
The daughter of infamous King Henry VIII and the ill-fated Anne Boleyn endured a difficult and tumultuous coming of age after her mother was executed. Queen Elizabeth took the throne when she was 25, not only consciously decided not to have children, but famously refused to marry, effectively putting an end to the Tudor dynasty.
Observe, Lord Burleigh. I am married to England.
Blanchett portrays Elizabeth as the complex character that she was, simultaneously naive, witty, defiant, and shrewd, and earned an Oscar nomination for her work. Nearly a decade later, Blanchett reprised her role in a continuation of the monarch's story, Elizabeth the Golden Age, delivering yet another powerhouse performance.
I too can command the wind, sir! I have a hurricane in me that will strip Spain bare if you dare to try me!
Which royal portrayal captivated you? Let us know in the comments.
What do you love so much?
Your Majesty.
Speak up, girl. I know who I am.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.